Alright, we are recording for chapter 12 of the Voyage Home. Nearly done. Hopefully this will be short, both because it's not a very long chapter. A fair amount happens in it, but some of it is just, like, beat to beat to beat to beat. Don't need to say too much about it. But also I'm tired. I didn't get much sleep last night. Anyway. So it does start, well, the end of 11 was Kirk beaming up to go back to the ship that the ramp has closed, intending to leave Jillian behind. So this starts with Jillian jumping and grabbing him at the waist, it says here, so that, she will go with him. And he does yell at her a little bit because the whole, do you have any idea how dangerous that is? Well, no, you wouldn't, but still, it's very dangerous. You could have killed us both. Which is curious because, on the one hand, yes, it makes sense that would be a danger. But maybe it's just from like TNG and on. Every time you hold on to something else when being beamed up, or someone else, you're just both beamed up. It's like it always just compensates, like, oh, okay, everyone gets beamed up kind of thing. Not to say, oh, you might lose an arm or whatever. So it's, I don't know. Maybe it's just they wanted there to be some danger to the transporter, even though it had never been shown before, because this would be a danger from it functioning normally versus it malfunctioning, like in the motion picture. But anyway, his response is basically, all right, I guess we'll just have to put you off again. And she goes, hi. She jumped into a karate crouch, both hands raised. You have to fight me to get me out of here. He put his hands on his hips and appraised her stance. You don't know the first thing about karate, do you? And she doesn't, she admits it. But it's, I don't know why that's there. She has a good argument for why she should go with them. That there's no one that understands whales in the 23rd century. You need me. So it's like, there's that. She genuinely and deeply wants to be there because she does love and care for George and Gracie. We don't necessarily have the whole, there was nothing for me here. At least I don't recall that really being mentioned. As I said, I'm tired, so my memory isn't perfect. But I mean, you could do that. So her just going, ha! It's like, what? Why would you think that will convince me of anything, woman? Why you be silly? Don't be silly. We don't need silly. I do appreciate silly in books, don't get me wrong. I'm sure I've written silly into plenty of my books. I'm not necessarily thinking of specific examples, but I know they're there. But this just, for what just happened, and also him literally just saying the lines before, you could have killed us both. And then her going, ha! It's like, this isn't the moment for that, woman. This really isn't. So I think if I had written that very possibly would have been alright, I'm doing the editing, I get to this, and it's like, you know what, this doesn't fit. Strike that out and have her doing something else to prevent it. Like arguing with him, or even just going over to controls and like blocking them with her body. You have to be like, no, you're not gonna beam me out of here. Yeah, I think it's like, because that would make more sense, because it is well, you're blocking the controls, so you won't be able to do it now. It's like that does make sense. Versus just, I'll fight you. It's like, why would you ever think that would work? Especially doing that. We do get Javi again, which, unless there's some mention of him later, I am not happy with him. I mean, it just, happy isn't, I don't understand why we've had him recurring. But he's back there because he's out for a garbage pickup. Here's something, runs over, and describes a huge bird-like shadow cut off the sunlight, moved slowly over him, accelerated across the meadow, and vanished over the trees. They're cloaked. What shadow? There shouldn't be a shadow. I mean, if it could be described differently, though. And then I'd be, alright, yeah. Because he is feeling the heat from the thrusters. Which See, now I'm just thinking, that's actually technically true. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I could make an argument, and I will try to, that it actually should not be hot. It should be cold. The reason why is because I do not necessarily believe that the thrusters are based on some sort of exothermic reaction. They're not, they're not necessarily rocket engines, and they couldn't be jet engines because jet engines need an oxygen input. Like, it would make more sense if it is just they've got some sort of compressed gas that they are releasing, because that's also going to be easily restored. Because it's just, you can collect the gas from any atmosphere you enter into. You can collect it when you're just in space, because there is gas in space. Low density, unless you're in a nebula or something, but it is there. But if it's compressed, when you release the pressure, it's at a lower temperature, because the amount of energy in this area suddenly becomes the amount of energy in that area, so it does cool off. So it would not be hot. But anyway, coming back to this, and not getting into that kind of technical stuff, a shadow doesn't make sense because they're cloaked. However, because it describes heat from it. If it were instead not a shadow, but a heat distortion, so the light bending around it because of the thrusters, it's like, okay, that I'd accept. I'd be fine with that. Because that would be something that, even though they're cloaked, would still happen. Because the heat of the air is not cloaked. That is leaving the ship. So yes, that makes sense. But it being a shadow, I got nothing. Yeah, so unless it's something like, but as going back a little bit with Javi, unless it's something like in the next chapter, or more likely the epilogue, there's some mention of a Javi, whatever his last name is, wrote a story about this, and somebody asks him about it. It's like, you may have had an impact. Unless it's something like that, I don't think Javi should have been in this book at all. I don't think that his presence has added anything. His presence with the depth. If he would just, it's Javi and Ben are the two garbage men that saw them there, and it's like, that's it. They exit the movie when they exit the park. Sorry, they exit the story when they exit the park. I'm fine with that. I got no issue with that. That makes sense. But this, you're giving him greater significance than thus far has proven he should have. So, what's this one? We do get this, which in a way helps explain some stuff in the movie, but no. The cloaking device has strained the power system, Spock said. The dilithium recrystallization may have reversed. So, they're losing power, or at least the power is unreliable. It's like, okay, I can just accept that as far as it's not in great shape, the ship. It is still being restored. It's not fully restored yet. And that, hang on. Yes, this is before they beam up George and Gracie. So it's like it would more so be the first two than just that they are in fact running low on power because of the transporter beam. But it is just, I can see these other reasons than just, oh yeah, we may have drained them again. Excuse me, because to me, I don't remember what was said before in the book, but at least my interpretation in the movie was always that it was specifically because of the time warp that the dilithium crystals were decrystallizing. Meaning, then, that once they were recrystallized, they should be fine. They are not high quality. That is stated in the movie, I do remember. It's these Klingon crystals, Admiral, in that line. And then the other two reasons that they've not completely restored, and they're on a ship that is not fully repaired. It's functional, but that's about all you can really say for it. It's like, that all works. I don't know why you're going to, oh, well, they might be failing it. Because, like, I don't know why just pulling a lot of power from them would cause their failure like that. Because it's also, they haven't done anything yet that the bird of prey would not normally be able to do. They haven't beamed up 40 tons? Whatever the number is. Of a whale in water yet. 400 tons. Sorry, they haven't done that yet. They haven't tried the time warp again. So it's like this is all within normal functioning for those crystals. Why are they acting up? I don't. Yeah. Um, why did I have this? Oh, yeah, that's why. Admiral Scott whispered, "There be whales here," so they beamed them up. The view screen shifted to show the two whales safely in their tank, massively beautiful, lying still in the cramped space. No one spoke. The eerie cry of a humpback song filled the ship, the first song George had sung in more than a year. Jillian blinked hard. She looked at Jim. Um, so we don't know if that's actually the first time George has sung in a year, but it is still it's a good moment to have that. It's I could see they entered the ocean. He may have started singing at that, but it is to try to show happiness because he knows what's going on, and it's like, yes, we're gonna go somewhere safe, all that cool, and also that Spock has fulfilled the promises made. So it's like I'm good with that, and it also comforts Jillian because she was concerned George didn't sing this past year, which might be that he's losing the will to live. So it's like this is hey, he's feeling good again. It's like okay, I'm good with that. So I wanted to mention it, but it's also the it technically might have not have been a year, might have been a few minutes. Anyway, to Jillian's knowledge, it's been a year, so I'm okay with that. But it's still just felt like talking about it nonetheless. Um, so then she and Kirk go to the tanks to see them. And they're talking a little bit. It's like, and Kirk says this: "I've been meaning to tell you, it's my family name that's Kirk. James is my given name. Most of my friends call me Jim." Oh, she wondered why she had not said so before. Why he had not said so before. Gee, I've kind of got used to calling you Kirk. You still can if you want to. Kind of got used to calling you Kirk. To you calling me Kirk. Um. So that does make the. Was it in the previous chapter or two ago? Hang on. Yes, it was in the previous chapter when Kirk James, which was clearly a typo because you shouldn't have them both there in that way, but it's like, I was thinking, well, maybe Jillian knew his name is apparently not. Apparently she never heard his name before, so it should have just been Kirk. James should not have been written there. I have no idea why. It's only there as an error. So, yeah. Um, so now there is a mention that they may have accidentally just triggered World War Three because they're uncloaked and they're speeding up. There is an aircraft that has been sent to investigate what the hell's going on. But and they are visible to radar, and they finally managed to get high enough that they can then enter warp, and so it doesn't matter that they were being followed; they're not going to be seen. But there's also legitimately there was no way picking up the bird of prey like that is going to trigger World War III. Middle of the ocean, so not near anything, and also freaking huge. Okay, I'm like you suddenly see. Let me check something quick. Actually, you know what? I can even do that. Do that and. Okay. Alright, so I want that information. That should also work. Okay. Technical data. I want to see how big these things are. If I can see it mentioned. I'm just wondering how large this would be compared to a bomber of the Cold War era. So I also looked at the B-52. Because they are big. But I mean, it's just if you randomly just saw something the size of a B-52 just appearing over the ocean and then accelerating at a tremendous speed going up, yeah, I don't think. Let me try this. Looking at span. Okay, wingspan of 185 feet for B-52. I have no idea if I'll be able to find it. Nope. Yeah, I think I just need to do it that way. Wingspan. Adding to the search on the bird of prey. Huh. Lovely. Apparently some suggestion that it varies. Okay. Okay, so based on what I'm seeing here, because people tried to calculate what its size should be compared to other things, and one thing I'm seeing here is suggesting 360 feet across. So this thing is like double the width of a B-52. I'm fairly confident you see something showing up with that kind of cross section on your radar, just it's spontaneously existing over the ocean and then is shooting up at a high speed. You're probably like, "Sir, we got a UFO." You're not thinking, "Sir, the Russians are coming." You're not thinking that because it's like there is nothing on Earth that's gonna do that. So I mean, that is really big. And going at such a high speed, it might even be, you know what? That's not even a UFO. That's just tear apart the radar. It's clearly broken, okay? There was something wrong there. We're just going to fix that bug. So, no, you are not triggering World War III with that. Oh, God. I didn't realize it would be that huge. And true, there might be planes larger than a B-52, but B-52s, they're old. They would have been in use then. And I want to say for bombers, they're probably still among the largest. So, it would be like cargo planes that might be surpassing it in size. So it's like, yeah, it's this thing that is, the wingspan is double. And it would also be larger in other dimensions. Yeah, I don't think anyone would look at that and be like, "Oh, that's an attack ship." It's not for 1980s. So yeah. So they're doing the slingshot maneuver now which technically doesn't make sense because it's 8 minutes between the Earth and the Sun, and they're taking a while at faster than light speeds. Anyway, you have a moment here that I do. In some ways, I like it, but there is still a problem with it. So Spock is in control of the thrusters, and he's doing all the math and all that in his head. And they're actually going through it. Spock recalled an earlier similar death because the sun's heat and radiation had penetrated the bounty shields. Similar death. Heat and radiation blasting around him as he struggled to save the Enterprise. That time he had succeeded. This time he feared he must have failed. He glanced for an instant at each of the people in the control room, at each of his friends. Only Leonard McCoy returned his gaze. The doctor looked at him for a long moment. Sweat glistened on his face. The ship plunged obliquely, and McCoy had to snatch the railing to keep his feet. He strained again. He was frightened, but he showed no evidence of terror or panic. To Spock's astonishment, he smiled. Spock had no idea how to respond. That's fair. That Spock wouldn't know how to respond. Okay. So I was just seeing the start of chapter 13 because that's the final highlight I had in there. So I do kind of like that as far as, because Bones smiling at him, it is kind of a comforting thing, both hey, we're doing what we do. Like this is what the Enterprise crew does. And also maybe even just reassuring to Spock that even if it is wrong, it's like, it's all good. You did your best. You gave us your best guess, and even if it wasn't good enough, it's still good. And could also be that kind of reassurance because of the link that they had before. But that also relates to the issue I have here. He shouldn't have any memory of that death, because the Katra was out of his body before his death. And his body being rejuvenated by Genesis didn't have any memories. So the Katra, which only McCoy has, so it's like only McCoy had at the time. It is possible that he could have seen it and integrated things like the conversation that Spock and Kirk had, original Spock had. But the idea of this sense of the heat, the sense of the radiation, he shouldn't have any memories of that because that was clearly a separate person. He might be extrapolating what that would be, what the experience would have been, but it would be a false memory. It would be a hallucination. So, and hallucinating is illogical. So, I mean, yeah, I don't actually like that being in there because that is inconsistent with what's actually going on. If that came through, I just dropped my leg down and I caught it on something, but don't worry, nothing's damaged. Going to be interesting to see what the next chapter is, because what little bit I saw, we're back to the Traveler is the first thing being talked about in the chapter, and it was talking about its joy. So it's like, okay, let's see how this goes, because it did mention at the end of this chapter, of chapter 12, that the whale song is vibrating the ship. It's going through there. Excuse me, but that they're also now hearing the Traveler's song. So it's like, where are we? And then you're getting the Traveler's song there. So, now I wonder then, just guessing, are we going to get the suggestion here that the Traveler hears the song immediately, and so stops its whole thing, but the bird of prey still crashes because the crystals are damaged. They don't have power. And so you still need to rescue George and Gracie, but you don't have the, why aren't they singing? You don't have that experience. I wonder if that will be the case. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. And it also makes sense because George has already started singing. So it's not like why aren't they singing? They just were. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But I could see that it is different from the movie in that way. So, all right. See you next time.